Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer Corner. For today's beer review, we're jumping into another beer from Hoppin Frog. This specific beer is a Russian Imperial Oatmeal Stout, and it's specifically called Maple Whiskey Barrel-Aged B.O.R.I.S. So it was aged in maple whiskey barrels. This one clocks in at 9.4%, and Hoppin Frog is based in Akron, Ohio. So in terms of label art, it's got their Hoppin Frog with a mug in his hand. Not really much else to talk about. This specific beer is kind of their flagship stout. It's arguably their most popular beer. They have a bunch of different variants. I've had one or two in the past. I've never had this maple whiskey, so I'm really excited to jump in. So we're going to get this cracked gently. All right. And pour it right in the glass. Oh, that's very, very dark. Seems like it's got a decent bit of thickness to it too. That ought to form a decent head. I'm going to back this off. We're not going to quite put that whole beer in there because I want to give room for that head to set out. Wow, I can smell it. Pungent. Absolutely pitch black. Absolutely pitch black. Very thick, lush, creamy foam, head on top. And the closer I get to it, the more incredible the aromas are. Let's get right up on it. Yep. Okay. So there's a definite aroma of whiskey, and there's a definite aroma of maple. In tandem with that, you can 100% pick up the underlying roastiness from this malt bill. It is pitch black. It is a Russian Imperial oatmeal. So this is going to be a big, rich beer. I mean, just shy of 9.5%. It's a nice big beer. It smells fantastic, looks fantastic. Let's just jump right in, mess in the beard or not, and just see what this one's about. Ooh, that's really good. That's really good. Okay. There's a lot of subtlety of layering of flavor that's happening in this beer. When you first swallow, you do get that whiskey up front and the maple almost immediately behind and with it. And there's this underlying sense of roastiness without it really being super present till about the 3 to 5 second mark. The malt bill just kind of slowly starts to build and build and build, and then that intensity of roast and that really deeply roasty edge to the malt bill finally kind of comes in and mixes fully with that whiskey and that maple. Neither the maple nor the whiskey, I think, are overpowering the underlying malt bill. They just come in first. In fact, my immediate gut reaction is this is an exceptionally well-balanced beer. Everything has its voice, and it all works perfectly together. So whiskey, the maple from the whiskey barrel, and the malt bill all working completely in tandem here. They just kind of tier and stagger how they come in, and then they all mix together. It's got a pretty even, pretty slow bloom up in flavor intensity, and then kind of the same thing on the way back down. In terms of body and mouthfeel, the body on this feels like a nice round, full medium to me. I'll confirm that on second sip. I was really paying much more attention to the mouthfeel. There's a good bit of resistance on this one. Agitation around the palate does thicken it up, and it does get quite creamy. So it's a really nice feeling beer on the palate, as well as the aroma and, of course, the flavors that all work really well together and just absolutely delicious. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to top this off now that that head is settled down after my beard has touched it. So the natural oils, of course, in your beard are going to break up ahead. But this one did a great job. So we're going to jump in for sip 2 here, really think on the finish, and see what happens on second sip intensification. Yeah, it's a solid medium body, nice bit of resistance on the mouth. It's a little creamy, a little thicker, a little foamy. It's maple. It's whiskey. Then just that few seconds in, again, here comes the malt bill. And it slowly builds, slowly builds. Then they're all kind of holding that same intensity level by about the 10-second mark. And it's just mixing, flavors popping in and out. Oh, there's malt. Oh, there's whiskey. Oh, there's maple. Really, really nice. I mean, I got to say it again, the balance on this is exceptional between the malt bill and the barrel aging. Really, really well done. In terms of the actual length of the finish and texturally how it is, it's a wet finish. There's no dryness to this at all. In terms of the length, for a 9.4, it's pretty good. It's got a pretty good length here. It is barrel aged, so that always helps the cause, but interestingly enough, the intensity of the malt, the roasty edge of the malt, is really also a major driver to the length of the finish on this one. It's quite intense. It's got a nice, just earthy, underlying, just well-crafted stout malt underpinning to it, and then just that whiskey and that maple are just kind of floating there. Quite long indeed. This is a very, very good beer. It's very well put together. I'm going to take my time, sip on this, come up with my scores. When we come back, we'll get this one ranked from top to bottom. All right, now that we've gotten to enjoy this beer, we're going to get it ranked. This is Hoppin Frog's Maple Whiskey Barrel-Aged B.O.R.I.S, a Russian Imperial Oatmeal Stout that was maple whiskey barrel-aged, 9.4% ABV. Hoppin Frog is based in Akron, Ohio. So starting with the aroma, as you would expect on a big barrel-aged beer, the aroma was very, very pungent indeed. It smelled really, really nice. You could get the malt backbone, you could get the whiskey and the maple. Doesn't get much better. Aroma gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the taste, it's everything that I love about a Russian stout, but in oatmeal Imperial Russian Stout form. And then the barrel aging on top, honestly, the taste was incredible and everything had its own voice and worked beautifully, harmoniously together. Taste gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the body, this was a big, full-bodied beer. And, you know, it's pushing 9.5% ABV. It should be, but it was exactly where I expected it to be. I call it textbook. Body gets a 10 out of 10. For the mouthfeel. Mouthfeel on this one, being that it had that oatmeal addition, I expected this if the ABV wasn't going to push it up enough anyway. Had a nice bit of resistance, and it was quite creamy when you agitated it around the palate. Mouthfeel was exactly what you want. It gets a perfect 10 out of 10. For the finish, this was a barrel-aged beer, higher ABV, significantly longer than average finish. It wasn't quite exactly top tier, but it didn't miss the mark by much. I only docked 1 point here. It gets a 9 out of 10. For the head and retention, this one did absolutely beautifully. It does get a perfect 10 out of 10. For the appearance, textbook pitch black gets a 10 out of 10. For the balance, I talked about this when I was sipping on it and exploring the flavors. The balance between that intensely roasty malt bill and the barrel aging, and that's both the whiskey and the maple, was absolutely perfect. Balance gets a 10 out of 10. Feeling in the intangible, subjectively, I loved it. I really did. Fantastic beer, just done right. It gets a 10 out of 10. And finally, an example of the style. It's only lost 1 point. I think it's evident. Example of the style does earn a 10 out of 10. Which brings the total score on Hoppin Frog's Maple Whiskey Barrel-Aged B.O.R.I.S to a 99 out of 100. So really, this is just about as good as it gets. An oatmeal barrel-aged Russian Imperial Stout done right, balanced beautifully. This is just a hallmark of one of those beers. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. If you're a fan of this style, barrel-aged stouts, oatmeal, Russian Imperials, this is one I do recommend. And as I stated prior, they do have a lot of different variations on this one. This one is particularly tasty. I'm going to keep my eyes out for more to grab, but absolutely fantastic top tier beer. Folks, that's today's review. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you tuning in today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to stay in the loop on our videos, go live to YouTube, turn on your notifications, just toggle the bell icon. It's right next to the subscribe button. Until next time, keep it beer, keep it craft. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.